is ionic compound? Please do remember that a compound is a combination of two elements. So element plus element is equal to compound. How about ionic? Ionic is a combination between a transfer of electrons in a metal and a non-metal. Together, they form into ionic molecule. Here is a specific example. As you can see, Na transfer one electron to fluorine. And A is a metal and F is a non-metal. They form into ionic bond since they share or transfer electrons. Now, you have to determine also which are metals and non-metals in the periodic table. If you're gonna determine that one, these sides are metal except for hydrogen because hydrogen is a non-metal. In this side, which is boron going to radon or N, are non-metals. If you can familiarize all of non-metals, it will be easier for you to identify which are the metals because non-metals are lesser than metals in the periodic table. So non-metals, since they gain or accept electrons, this gives them a negative charge because they got an extra electrons from metals. They are called negative ions, or in short, anions. Now, metals, since they lose or donate electrons, this gives them a positive charge. Positive ions are called cations. Now, rules for naming ions. When metals lose electron, they become ions, but their name does not change. It will just be retained. These are example. Na is sodium. Since they give one electron, this gives them a positive 1 charge. So as you can see, this is the element sodium. This is already the ion, but the name does not change. Another example here is Mg. Mg is magnesium. It will become ion since it donates 2 electrons. That gives them a positive 2 charge. But look at the name, it's still the same. Next rule for naming ions is non-metals gain electrons, they become ions and their name does change. So here are examples. F is fluorine. It accepts 1 electron, they become ion and their name changes. From fluorine, it becomes fluoride. Now, next is sulfur. Sulfur accepts 2 electrons, that's why their charge is negative 2. And look at the name. From sulfur, it becomes sulfide. Now let's combine together. Again, number 1 rule, the names of metals do not change. Second rule, changing the name of non-metals. So root of element name plus IDE, that's the name of the ion. Examples, chlorine's ion. Chlorine is a non-metal. So find the root name of the element, adds IDE. So chlor plus IDE, it becomes chloride. Another example is calcium's ion. Calcium is a metal. So apply the rule number 1, name of metals do not change. Calcium's ion still called as calcium. Steps for naming ionic compound. Normally, in the formula, the first element will be written first. That is a metal, followed by a non-metal. So, Ca is calcium. Write the name of the metal ion. So, it's calcium. And then Br is bromine. but you have to change the name of the nonmetal. It will become bromide. And you're done. Easy as that. But please do remember, in writing the name of the element, first name should be capital, followed by a small letter in the second element. It is just to distinguish which one is metal, which one is non-metal. Okay, next. Here are other examples. Number 1, let's try to apply the rules. And A is sodium, F is fluorine. Sodium is metal, F is non-metal. So, their name will be sodium fluoride. Number 2, Mg is magnesium, O is oxygen. Final name will be magnesium oxide. Number 3, Sr is strontium, Cl is chlorine. Final name for the ionic compound is strontium chloride. Number 4, lithium is Li, S is sulfur. Together, they will be named as lithium sulfide. Number 5, Ca is calcium, O is oxygen. Final name will be calcium oxide. And last example, Ki. K is potassium, I is iodine. Final name will be potassium iodide. So as you can see here in the formula, metal will be written first, followed by a non-metal. So, in the first element, you just find the name of the element in the periodic table. And then the second element in the ionic compound, find the root word and adds IPE. Now, these are also ions that form after elements have shared electron. These ions are known as polyatomic ions, and it has already a name. So, you cannot change anything. Any name which written with this kind of formula should be retained. Now, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. As you can see here, there are polyatomic ions with the same contained ions. They contain the same ions, but look at the name. This one ends with ITE and this one ends with ATE. Now, how will you know if it ends with ITE and ATE? Look at the oxygen ion. Oxygen ion here is lesser than the oxygen ion here. So if that one is lesser, it ends with ITE. If that one is higher, it will be end with ATE. Another example here is the nitrite and nitrate. Since this one has a lower oxygen ion, it ends with ITE. And this one has a higher oxygen ion, that's why it ends with ATE. Last example is sulfite and sulfate. Look at this one. It contains 4 oxygen ion. It ends with ATE. And this one is only 3. That's why it ends with ITE. It's only a heads up. But anyway, again, polyatomic ions already has a name. So you cannot change anything. Now, how to name polyatomic ion? These are the formula. All you need to do is a reference sheet so that you can name it. Or, if you are familiarized and can memorize everything, it will be easier for you. SO4, find the SO4 in the reference sheet. It was named here sulfate, so that's the name. It will only be sulfate. MnO4, find the MnO4 in the reference sheet. This is the name, so it's called permanganate. OH, find OH here. It is called hydroxide. Now how about the 3? Can you name these 3 polyatomic ions using the reference sheet? Yes, of course you can. So these are the names, if you're able to find them. Okay, I will go now to the next slide. Now, when polyatomic ions are used simply use the name of the polyatomic ion in the compound. So it will be either combined in a metal or a non-metal. So if it is combined in non-metal, you write first the polyatomic ion and then next will be the non-metal. So NH4, if you go back to the reference sheet, it is named as ammonium. And then F is a non-metal. Again, rule, it should end in IDE. So fluorine, it will become fluoride. Now, if you will be writing the formula for polyatomic ions and it will be added with metal, you write first the metal followed by polyatomic ion. Ca is calcium, and then the reference sheet SO4 is sulfate. Next, Mg is a metal, NO3 is polyatomic. Mg is magnesium, NO3 in the reference sheet is what we called nitrate. Last example, Na is a metal, it is called sodium. OH is polyatomic, in the reference sheet it is called hydroxide. So that is how to name polyatomic ions and combined with either a metal or a non-metal. Now, let's practice naming the ionic compound. Let's apply the rule. Ca and Cl. So the name will be calcium chloride. K and S. K is potassium, S is sulfur. Final name will be potassium sulfide. Next, KMnO4. K is potassium, MnO4 is permanganate. So therefore, in the rules applied, potassium permanganate. Next, BaO. Ba is barium, O is oxygen. Final name will be barium oxide. Now, how about the remaining ionic compound? Do you think you can name all of this? Or how many can you name?